I'm Ryan Wolf, joined here by Kurt and I.
Hey guys.
We are broadcasting live from Morgantown, West Virginia for Friday Night Magic. We've got 4 rounds of Modern for you. I think we got a pretty spicy lineup for the first match. So we've got Blue-White Thopter Control versus Green-Red Tron.
Yeah, Green-Red Tron. I've played against the Green-Red Tron deck a couple times. It's probably the only one I've really seen here at the store personally. I know there's a lot of different variants of Tron, but
We used to have a lot of players that played Green-Red Tron here at the store. A lot of them have moved off. It's Morgantown, so it's a large college town. So a lot of people move, and we lose those archetypes that we used to see a lot. Kind of same thing with Infect. A lot of our Infect players have moved or aren't able to show up on Fridays anymore, so we don't really get to see those kind of decks. But we get to see all sorts of cool stuff, much like this Blue-White Thopter Control deck, which uses a Gifts on Given package.
nice.
So
yeah, I'm not super familiar with this deck myself, so you're gonna have to give me the rundown with everybody else when we're going through.
we're going to go ahead and get to the feature match. Looks like they're just finishing up shuffling. Looks like they're going to determine who's going to go first. We're going to go ahead and give them a nice little stomp here to let them know that we are ready. And they should be getting started here real soon. Hopefully Jeff puts his phone away. So anyways, the Thopter Control deck is a Thopter Foundry and Sword of the Meat combo deck.
Okay. Oh, I am familiar with this.
So-
I think I've heard of that before.
It uses a lot of counter spells like Mana Leak, Remand, that sort of stuff, and uses the Gifts Ungiven to get the Sword of the Meek into its graveyard,
Right.
as well as usually an Unburial Rites with like an Iona or an Elish Norn, that sort of thing. They may play like 1 or 2 black sources, but not a whole lot to try to accelerate what they're doing. Could be really interesting as we hit the Tron deck. Looks like he almost has natural Tron in his hand.
Yeah, see a couple Grove of the Burn Willows in
A
there.
tower and a mine, an O-stone, a star, and maybe a sphere, and an O-stone. Yeah, so Jeff's having to go ahead and mulligan here. I think Jeff has a very strong matchup here. There's just so many resources that Jeff has access to that Green-Red Tron's not going to be able to deal with. All of the card draw.
Yeah.
But if the O-stone resolves, then it's going to be very difficult for Jeff.
Yeah, that is a thing, because with Thopters, you got all those flying creatures. Tron doesn't really have a ton of ways to
Right.
deal with that other than the Oblivion Stone there, but let's take a look here. Let's see if we can pull,
Thopter Foundry.
see if there's anybody in the chat up in here.
Oh, yeah. Let's go ahead and do that. So we're also paying attention to the chat, guys. So we're also going to see if any of you guys have any questions about any of the decks that we have today. We will try to answer these questions the best we can just to make sure that you guys are able to tell what's going on. So Jeff's down to 6 cards. He's looking at it pretty hard. Looks like he's got 3 or 4 lands in his hand.
It looks like a plane.
And he's going to go ahead and ship it back. That really sucks for Jeff as he's having to mulligan down to 5. Kind of a slow start to our stream today.
Yeah.
So while we've got this time, while Jeff's shuffling up for that, we're going to bring it back to the booth real quickly. Let you guys know that this Saturday, tomorrow, we have a standard grinder event that's $20 to enter. First place prize walks away with $200 in cash.
Nice.
So
Now, what is the grinder? I know some people might not
So
necessarily
a
know what that
grinder
means.
is just kind of a catch-all term for like a competitive REL type event
Okay.
to let them know that they can just come out play and get some competitive REL experience. Usually grinders happen at GPs and that sort of thing, to where like it's right before you get into the Grand Prix qualifier type events, that sort of thing. So so Jeff actually does get to keep 5 here as we cut back down. So yeah, those events they're a lot of fun. The modern one we had 20 people for.
Oh, wow.
So that was
Nice.
we gave out all the prize entry fees that we gave back. We gave it back in cash. So come on out, enjoy that, and you'll even get to take me on playing some copycat. Maybe not being a little shy here. All right. I guess I didn't hear the stomp the first time.
Okay.
So looks like we're all ready. Jeff's on 5. He scryed. Looks like he scryed to the bottom, and looks like Marc won the die roll. So here comes a power plant with a sphere. This is the bug power plant art. For those of you who don't know,
The bug. What does that mean?
So,
Explain that to me.
the bug power plant art. There's a little bug in the center of the artwork. It's just kind of the way that they separated, like how you knew which one was which. That actually is a mine and not a tower.
Oh yeah, the
There.
infamous tower mine.
Yeah, the one that confuses your opponents, not intentionally, but oh look, and into the Sylvan Scrying on turn 2. So he's going to go ahead and get that tower.
Turn 3 Tron. There's
Yep.
Nothing quite like a turn 3 Tron.
Yeah, I mean, but it looks like Marc didn't have anything big payoff wise in his hand.
Yeah, I didn't
So-
see anything really other than the Oblivion Stone.
Right,
hanging
so
there.
obviously Jeff's going to untap with 2 mana. Maybe he has a mana leak, maybe he has a remand. Either one of those would be pretty strong right now.
Yeah, that would be huge, especially if a turn 3 Karn comes down.
Right, exactly. So if Marc did end up drawing one of the larger cards that he was looking for, then that would be pretty beneficial for him. So we got an untap here and see what Jeff can do. So he looks like he drew a Gifts Ungiven here. So he's got 2 Gifts Ungiven, a Path to Exile, and maybe another land.
Hard to tell. Looks like he's going to sit on that flooded strand for right now. So we'll see.
Yep, here comes the tower.
There's Tron.
Yep.
I just see a couple Grove of
So,
the Burn Willows.
I see 2 Grove of the Burn Willows, and looks like 2 Oblivion Stones.
There's the Oblivion Stone. Well, he's going to be set up, even if Jeff can get some Thopters down, I suppose.
Right.
Okay.
Now, the interesting thing about these Thopters compared to other Thopters that you're seeing in Standard right now is that they are more so, they have a color in them. So
Oh, yeah, they're blue, aren't they?
they make blue Thopters as opposed to colorless Thopters. So Ugin can hit these. I don't remember if Marc is playing Ugin in his list, but a lot of the Tron decks have started to incorporate Ugin in. So Ugin actually does hit these Thopters, unlike in Standard where he did not.
Right. I think he may have at least one
One.
in there. I'm trying to remember from the last time I played against his Tron deck, but he obviously could have made some changes. In
Right.
between.
So here's an Ancient
So-
Stirrings into a Chromatic Star. I believe there's still one colorless mana floating.
Yeah.
Maybe not, as we're playing another Sphere. You're playing the star you just drew. Probably making another green. And draws yet another star.
Oh my goodness.
And untaps. And
he
Yep.
also has another sphere in his hand too. So lots of mana, not really anything.
just
to
drawing
do
a
with
lot
it,
of
right?
cards. But the card, that's another thing, is they get to see a lot of cards, but there's not a whole lot of card selection in this deck.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard for them to see that going in. So as you see, Jeff goes and fetches with that Flood Strand, trying to change the probability of him drawing another land here soon. Didn't
quite see it. Doesn't
Looks like it was
he
enough.
does have an island. Okay.
So it looks like it was a Path to Exile in his hand that he drew, and he's just gonna pass it back. So
I mean, good if Marc
If
does
it's a
something
worm
like
coil.
coil,
But-
if it's Karn.
and
or
there's the
Ugin.
Karn. So
Oh, did he draw? it?
so Jeff actually drew a Thirst for Knowledge. So
Oh, interesting.
the Thirst doesn't do too much here, but if Karn decides to start targeting lands, then this is going to be just about over. So he's going to float, change it. There's Ugin. So now Marc is finding all the big spells.
Yeah.
It's not looking very good for Marc.
Ugin first, one of my favorite planeswalkers. I will say, I personally not a huge fan of Tron decks, but Ugin is my favorite planeswalker, so I always kind of do like to see when one comes out.
So Marc is just going to go upstairs with the Ugin, and Jeff's going to draw some cards here with Thirst. Have to discard 2 unless he discards an artifact. Probably he's going to discard that Talisman, and drew that Muddle just a little bit too late.
One turn too late.
So it's going to be a little bit rough for Jeff here. I don't think he has a way of actively getting rid of the Ugin, and if anything, I'd probably just scoop it up from here, personally.
Goes for the Serum Visions.
Luckily, they've been keeping track of the scoreboard. We have not. as Jeff is at 15. Sorry about that, guys. And Mark's at 20. So there's a Serum Vision. Looks like he scried both to the bottom.
He's digging for something, but
he may have an O-ring in his deck, which wouldn't surprise me. But I think Karn's about to come out, and there's Ulamog. So
oh my goodness, yeah, he's just gonna lock it up here.
It's a 7, 8, 9. He can't quite cast it yet. So
I mean, he could just slam the Karn here.
Yep. Ugin goes upstairs. Here comes another sphere. He's going to float it in with the star. Or float the sphere. Just reading what the ultimate does, because that's a very real thing that's going to happen probably. And there's another Karn. So, yeah, Mark's just going to go ahead and windmill slam Karn. Probably eat a land. At least that's what I would do here. Yep.
There he goes for the land. Karn's such a strong planeswalker.
Yep, so what's probably going to happen here is that Mark is going to try to
and he scoops
it up. I probably scooped it up just a turn sooner, but then again, you didn't really give away any information. So
right, so if Mark doesn't know what deck Jeff is playing, he's still pretty safe since he only played a couple of Serum Visions and a Thirst for Knowledge.
So he knows he's on blue-white something. So the Thirst for Knowledge can probably assume safely that there's probably some sort of Thopter or other artifact shenanigans going on. I don't really know what Jeff's going to bring in here in the sideboard. Mulliganing to 5 here was pretty bad. For Jeff, obviously.
Yeah, that's always rough when you have to mulligan 5.
Green Red Tron's going to take out a lot of its removal-based stuff. Just a lot of it's just not good. Probably needs to leave in at least the Pyroclasms, though. Oh, so he's just taking out the Bolt. So he may bring in Pyroclasms and may bring it away to deal with Iota or something of that nature. What was...
Looks like he's got a couple
Warping Whales,
in a sideboard.
Warping Whales, Grafdigger's Cage. Grafdigger's Cage doesn't do what you want it to. Relic is pretty good here. So I got a feeling that Mark actually knows what Jeff is on. They may have even been talking prior to the...
Yeah, I mean, it is a more casual night here, just F&M, so players do kind of openly talk about the decks that they're playing, and everything.
So it looks like... So Jeff actually is on Esper, as I see him bringing in some Thoughtseizes and some Inquisitions. So we'll go ahead and update that to Esper Thopter Control.
A favorite way of mine to deal with Tron that I know it's a little janky, but you can run it in just about any deck if you want to devote some sideboard space to it. Is run like a Ghost Quarter and a Surgical Extraction and try.
Right. So I think that's a very real option for Jeff to be playing, as since he has access to those sort of things with the Gifts Ungiven package. He can play a Crucible Worlds. He can play Ghost Quarters. He can play those type of effects.
Right.
So it's not out of the realm for Jeff to be playing it, and since he's in Esper, obviously, he can get into that pretty easily. So it's a big mana deck for both of them. So hopefully Jeff can pull out this and we get a game 3 out of this. I apologize for yawning. It's been a long day for me. Oh, so Mark's even bringing in Choke. So
Choke, oh my goodness.
Choke seems like it's pretty good against the old Island deck.
That reminds me of that funny little scenario we saw last week. It wasn't on the feature stream, but there was a matchup that was played in last Friday Night Magic. I think Mark was in that with his Tron deck versus Merfolk.
Yep.
And he ran Choke in the sideboard for one of his games and ended up having almost all of his
lands
pieces
get choked.
Islands. Got hurt by his own choke there, which was pretty amusing to see.
Yeah, I mean, and then the Merfolk deck can still operate it because it plays those non-islands that tap for blue. So Mark taking advantage of his one free pile shuffle that he gets per game, not per match, everybody. That's per game.
That is a new rule. How many weeks ago now did that go?
About 2 or 3 weeks ago. Before it was once per randomization of your library.
Which is just way too much, in
Right.
my opinion.
That is. So anytime you search your deck, you can do it. If you double fetched, you could double pile shuffle because that's technically two different randomizations. So they realized that this is probably what they actually meant for the game. So it looks like Jeff doesn't have any lands.
Again.
So he does have an Oblivion Ring. I don't know if that was in the main deck or not. So Mark looking at a hand of all sorts of fun stuff that costs a lot of mana with only one land.
Go mulligan here.
So we both go into 6 here.
Interesting that Jeff is not seeing many lands at all. Do you think it's because his deck is not running that many lands? Do you think it's just bad luck?
So what I know of the Esper Thopter deck, it plays roughly around 25 to 26 lands.
Oh wow, that's pretty high.
Mainly just because it wants to make as many Thopters as possible each turn once it gets its engine online.
Right.
And then if it gets that enabled, then it's just going to go off. Like, there's not much anything else that's going to stop it. So, I do know Jeff's only playing 2 Sword of the Meek, so if Mark has some spice and surgical extracts one of them, that could be a little bit bad for him.
It definitely, I don't know, maybe not necessarily shut down the Thopter Foundry, but definitely slow it.
It slows it down, and it changes what Jeff's going to be trying to do. So Jeff has 2 lands here. Looks like a Ghost Quarter and a Hallowed Fountain. Looks like he's probably keeping. Mark looks like he's going down to 5 because he has no lands.
Oh, goodness.
So doesn't look like we're getting any real magic here today, folks.
Bit of a dry spell tonight,
yeah.
It looks like.
Dry in every sense of the word. So Jeff actually isn't keeping his 6 either. So
interesting.
They're both going to go down to 5. Mark has a slight advantage now just because he's on the draw. Unless, of course, Jeff gets to keep his 5 and Mark has to go down to 4, which is a possibility. I mean, it seems every time I mulligan, like, it just gets worse and worse and worse.
That's the thing you see a lot, and I know if you play Magic Online, it seems like this happens all the time too. If you mulligan a questionable hand, and then the hand that you get after the mulligan is so much worse, and you wish you just kept.
So an interesting deck choice that I've saw or options that the Esper deck could run, but I haven't seen it a whole lot. I've only seen it like maybe once or twice ever. Was that they play a Painter Servant in their sideboard.
Interesting.
It's a combo with their Iona.
Right, because then he can just shut down their land. I was wondering how Iona was going to shut down a Tron deck. I suppose that would be...
Right, and that's usually they play a Painter in their sideboard because it's an artifact. Mm-hmm. So they have some ways of getting it. Muddle the Mixture can go find it. And I don't know if Jeff is on that plan. He may not be because it's kind of an obscure sort of thing. Yeah. And it makes your Iona live against Tron. And it makes it to where they can't play anything for the rest of the game. Because you just name a color and you're like, Iona.
Too bad you don't get to play your cards anymore.
You are no longer playing Magic as you die to a 1/3 turning sideways, which is a lot of fun to kill people doing. So we have a map followed up by Jeff playing his Thopter Foundry. And I believe Mark probably kind of knew that was already going to happen. That or the sword. Either one is fine here, obviously. So looks like there's another power plant and the mine. So the map will go get Tron here turned on very, very soon.
Man, that was a lucky draw.
There's an Academy Ruins.
Ah, interesting.
Okay, so the Academy Ruins is pretty spicy here. So he's not going to play it. He's going to try to protect it from...
Is that a glacial?
That's a glacial fortress. So that actually gets around the choke.
Yeah.
So it's a blue-white. For those of you who don't know what glacial fortress is, it's was referred to as a buddy land back in the day.
So
he's going to transmute the tiller it was. These lands come in to see if there's an island or a plains for glacial fortress specifically to let you know, hey, this can come in untapped. So Jeff goes and transmutes for engineered explosives. I'm not quite sure why he brought in engineered explosives in this matchup.
Do you think he's going to be able to buy enough turns to tick it up to hit some stuff?
Well, engineered explosives isn't ratchet bomb, so
I'm getting those confused.
It has sunburst. So that means that he can only put 2. at most 3 colors in it because he's Esper, unless he has a Mana Confluence that we're unaware of, obviously, and can play that, and then he can get it to 4 colors.
Interesting. I wonder what he thinks he can hit with that then.
Unless he's just trying to blow up all the stars and spheres, or maybe a relic of Progenitus.
Could be for a little self-defense against a maneuver like that, I suppose, yeah.
It's probably not something I would bring in. Or if he finds his black source, he can set it on 3 to blow up an Oblivion Stone before Marc is ready.
That's true, too, yeah.
So...
Gets Tron.
Tron is online. Looks like there's nothing really going on here, though. There's a star. He has 1 colorless floating. He can. So Marc actually has a Thragtusk in his hand, which is pretty spicy. So that'll allow. It's gonna make it very difficult for Jeff to deal with that, just because Thragtusk leaves the body behind after it dies. And yep, here comes Thragtusk. So Marc is gonna gain 5 life. And now he has a 5/3 beast on the battlefield. If Thragtusk leaves the battlefield, he leaves behind a 3/3. That's just him leaving the battlefield.
Right.
So if it's exiled or...
Does Thragtusk gain the life again when he leaves too?
No, he only gains it on his entry. So back in the day, you would just play Restoration Angel and Thragtusk. A former F&M stream that used to happen a lot nearby out of Charleston, West Virginia, from Lost Legion. Zach Sells Magic. This is the gentleman that used to run it. Zach would... he had a Thragtusk and Restoration Angel counter. I think the most Restoration Angels that they saw online in one night was like 100, or most Thragtusk was 114.
Wow.
Thragtusk that had entered the battlefield.
So it looks like Jeff got the Engineered Explosives just to play it for a free card to sack for a token.
And then, so like he's gonna be able to buy that back with the Academy Ruins, obviously, and he's just gonna incur small advantage off of that. Jeff also does gain a life off of that to bring him up to 21.
Right. Looks like, does he have an Elspeth in his hand? Am I seeing it correctly?
It may be an Elspeth. I don't know. He's flicking his cards pretty quickly.
Yeah, I caught a glimpse of it for a second.
If it's Elspeth, I wonder if it's Knight Errant or Sun's Champion. I think
it might be Sun's Champion.
I don't think you want... I do believe that is Sun's Champion.
Yeah.
Based off the art that I can tell.
Chumps the Thopter.
And looks like a lot of mana. And that is a World Breaker. He's here to break the world.
What a great name for a card.
Yeah. So, with that on the stack, I guess the trigger on the stack from the World Breaker, he's going to buy back the... Oh, okay, so the World Breaker was targeting the Academy Ruins.
Okay.
So he's going to buy back the Engineered Explosives. Yeah, so that is an Elspeth Sun's Champion there. So Jeff's engine of recurring his Grafdigger's Cage is offline now. Or not his Grafdigger's Cage, excuse me. His
explosives.
His Engineered Explosives is offline. And Jeff is pretty far away from having access to Elspeth Sun's Champion now that his Academy Ruins is gone.
Right, yeah, and even if he does get the Sun's Champion
So
down,
Jeff is actually playing his Engineered Explosives on 1 here.
Oh, interesting.
To basically get rid of the Sphere and the Relic here, and he's going to go ahead and blow it up. So, with that on stack, he'll probably exile the last card that's in Jeff's graveyard.
I think Jeff has...
Yep.
2, did he? Oh, no, I'm looking at that wrong.
Yep. So, the Sphere is worded a little bit differently than Star is. So Star says just when it's put into the graveyard, you get to draw a card. So if that was the Star, he would have got to draw a card. But since Sphere has it as part of its activated ability, then he does not get to draw a card off of that.
Right.
So that was actually pretty smart by Jeff. It slowed down the card draw, and ouch. Here comes.
That's 11? I forget the power on World Breaker. Is it 6, 7?
They're both 5s,
Oh,
but I
both
think
5s,
Jeff
okay.
forgot his life gain trigger off of his thing. Yeah.
Nah,
So
he
he's just going to
scoops
scoop it up. Unfortunately, there was some tough draws there for Jeff. He gives Marc
couldn't get the lands he needed.
Yeah, unfortunately, that does happen from time to time. I think they're going to talk about it a little bit and see exactly maybe what Jeff could have done differently here. I think Jeff did choose the right thing. I'm going to bring it back up here to the booth. So I think Jeff played it the best way that he could, outside of them both having mulligan to 5.
Yeah, he had a mulligan to 5 twice.
Right, and then the top decks from the Tron deck were just really, really strong.
Yeah.
So congratulations to Marc on that first round win. We got quite a bit of time left. I'm not sure if we can find another match to kind of squeeze in. So we're going to take a quick break. If we don't have a match, we'll come back when the next round begins. Again, thank you for joining us here at Four Horsemen Comics and Gaming. I am Ryan Wolf. This is Kurt and we'll be right back.